Hi, I'm SantyDark from SDJ Records, and this is the making of Powerdream to the Future with you. Powerdream is a project I created inspired mostly by the band Beast in Black, but also Battle Beast. In fact, at that time, I liked Beast in Black, but I was more in love with two albums of Battle Beast. The one that is self-titled, and the one that's called Unholy Savior. I was listening to those two non-stop, and I just thought, I want more stuff like this. But then I started working on the first Powerdream song I uploaded here on the channel, Signal Lock. And something felt different, more specific, more electronic. So I uploaded the first song, and one of the comments made me realize something. I hear more industrial metal than power metal, and I completely agree. The thing is that metal subgenres are weird, man. Even though all these years in my metal journey, I still don't fully understand them. Yes, in one side you have all these keyboards and electronic sounds, so it has sense that it will be classified as industrial metal. But what about the high-pitched vocals? What about the choir? What about the classic 80s air metal style guitars? I think what defines this genre is the stuff that you choose to be more prevalent. So for example, if you want to make industrial metal, but the keyboards are very low volume and what you hear the most are the guitars, well, maybe people are going to perceive it as just heavy metal. Another example is, if you use keyboards, but you play at an insane speed, the speed is the element that is going to call the most of your attention, and then you're going to call it speed metal, or maybe power metal. So yeah, I don't really know how to call it, honestly. But it's a mix of industrial, power, heavy metal, something like that. I always liked sci-fi themed art in any form, from movies to video games. I don't want to be just a cheap Beast in Black clone. They already are the best at doing what they do. So, to be more creative, I had to choose more influences than just music-wise. You can hear a lot of 16-bit era chip sounds from the 90s video games and pinball machines in most of the songs. A lot of 80s style synths and keyboards with a lot of pads and ambience. The lyrics on the project are both romantic and nerdy. However, that will depend a little bit more on the album. The title of the album can be a little bit misleading. While some people may interpret the title as "Let's go to the future together" or something like that, it is actually a way of saying I send you to the future and you're going there alone, you know? It has the same connotations as saying "to hell with you", in a way that is transporting you to another place in another time to show you how it's like. In this case, I'm creating a futuristic world for this album, more like your typical dystopian city you see in the cyberpunk style movies and games. However, for this album I was really inspired a lot by the Mirror's Edge games, and also platform games in general. You can hear a lot of that inspiration in later songs like Run and Jump and From Death I Learn. So, while it is a cyberpunk style world, most of the stuff that the album talks about doesn't happen in the streets, but more actually on the heights, on skyscrapers and towers. The sound of this album is an evolution of the previous one. I chose to leave most of the instruments sounding the same, and instead I focused more on improving the mixing, volume and presence of each. The guitars are still having that same industrial heavy metal sound that the previous one had, and the drums are still punchy and powerful. The main difference here is the bass. While I used a distorted raw sounding bass on the first album, I realized that I wanted something more sophisticated for this very specific production I was aiming for. So now I chose a more clean bass for a less aggressive and more clean sound overall. Another problem I found with the previous album in relation with the mix is the vocals. Sometimes they were very muted and muffled, other times they were just too damn strong, making almost impossible to distinguish what was happening in the background. I'm still learning this stuff, you guys, and I'm still getting used to my new microphone, Shure SM58, but now at least I can say that I'm more ready than back then when I was starting the project, so vocals will sound better. Okay, so now get ready for some story time, because there's actually a story behind this album, which is going to be progressing between the songs, and the songs are in order of the storytelling, so I'm going to reveal the song list as I tell you the story behind this album.
The album follows the story of a scientist who has been watching the events of the future with a device he created. And this device has been showing nothing but danger, misery, and death. So, while trying to find out what is happening during this time, he develops a time machine and travels to the future. From this point forward, he discovers how his city has been taken by a supreme authority. In an attempt of escaping this force, he accidentally finds a secret land above the city, a big floating island in the sky, which is the only natural place remaining on Earth with plants and stuff. He uses that place as a refugee from the authority. But watching the injustices of the underworld from the distance, he decides to join a rebel group called the Runners, a group of athletic parkour masters who exist to screw things up from the authority to restore the city to the freedom state it had before. While he helps the Runners with various missions, he also has a plan. He starts learning the new technology from the future to develop a new time machine, to transport all his runner comrades to the past and then, together, prevent this future from happening. When he reveals his plans to his comrades, they don't agree that this is the best way to fix things. They like living here, and even if it's a harder task, they prefer to fix things in the present rather than in the past. So, instead of creating a new time machine, he creates a new medicine to cure all the diseases that the citizens carry. And his mission to fight the authority continues when he masters all the parkour techniques and transforms himself into a parkour instructor for the new upcoming runners that want to join the cause.
So that's everything. I hope you're looking forward for this album and see you in the next video. Bye!